Hello again. Um, the non-playing character that obviously comes from role-playing games and video games, but it's something that you'll see around a lot. You know, um, yeah, I've seen these sort of NPC illustrations with sort of this sort of blank-faced character. You know, so what exactly is it then? So, to my mind, I've seen these kind of silly comments about people having no souls and stuff like that. I just think that's just crazy nonsense. Really, a non-playing character is someone who really isn't really in control of their own life, um, and a lot of people probably are NPCs, and they just don't actually realize it. Okay, the people sometimes end up being led down this road very much by a sense of fear. You see, when people are growing up, people who are sort of this ilk will try and teach their own children the same values. You know, the world's a scary place. Don't take any chances. Just keep on the straight and narrow. Don't take any risks. Don't do anything different. Don't do anything adventurous. And just, go to school, get a sensible job, get married to a sensible person, and just, keep it safe. Don't do anything chancy. Don't go into a career that's sort of maybe a bit exciting, but, possibilities that you're not going to succeed. So I'm not saying like these people are bad. It's just that they're afraid. They're afraid to try something different, to take any risks. And they will encourage other people around them to do the same thing. So if you're the kind of person who's creative, who has sort of different ideas, who is interested in doing something unusual or adventurous, you probably need to get away from these kind of people, because they're just going to encourage you to just play it safe and go and work as an accountant or a bank teller or something like that, because they, for whatever reason, they are just a bit afraid of taking chances. The thing is, right, everybody fails in life. Everybody makes mistakes. Things go wrong, where plans you've had don't pan out. But, that doesn't mean your life is over. It doesn't mean, you're a disgrace or whatever if you failed. If you look at most people who are really successful at something, whether it's business or the arts or being a great scientist or whatever, they've usually had their fair share of failures. And one of the things about actually living your own life and just getting on with your own agenda instead of just playing it safe all the time is just to accept that failure is part of life. And in order to achieve something great in your life, you probably have to fail, multiple times, many times. I'm trying to think who it was. I think it's Samuel Beckett that said, "Fail better next time," and that's how you get good at things. You do make mistakes, and people shouldn't be so frightened of making a mistake, be so frightened of a failure in their life. You can always have another go. You can have a go at something else. There's so many instances of people who have had difficulties. An interesting example is the science fiction writer H.G. Wells, who spent much of his early life confined to bed And I think he became a civil servant. He was very much encouraged to do so by his family, but what he was really interested in was writing, and he decided to take a chance on being a writer. I mean, his first few books weren't like, they didn't set the world on fire, and then all of a sudden he became a surefire hit. And his books are still read today. In fact, many great science fiction films are interpretations of his books, from a long time ago, 100 years ago, or whatever, and these stories are still very much in the public consciousness now. I mean, he could have just decided, okay, I'm just going to be sensible, do what my family tell me, and just, live this boring life, just in some office, when he had this great potential. So the sad thing about, the non-playing character is quite often these, people who have potential to be, a great musician, a great orator, an amazing scientist. They don't have confidence in themselves, and they allow other people who are also NPCs to talk them out of actually giving these things a try, which is a great tragedy. I'm not, a lot of people who you call NPCs, they're perfectly nice people. They're not evil or anything. In fact, a lot of people who are the opposite, who are incredibly successful, are actually narcissists. They might actually be quite egotistical. Some of them are actually even nasty people. But, they actually leave a mark on the world in that they are prepared to be single-minded in the pursuit of their goals in whatever it is, the arts or whatever. I mean, the worst example of bad people is probably politics. People who, end up being totalitarian leaders. They're certainly not NPCs, but, they might end up doing huge harm to the world and have done historically. So it's not really about morals, about being like a good person or a bad person as such. It's more about having the courage of your convictions to actually know what you want out of life and to follow through on it, and to be brave enough to actually go for it. I feel sad for people that have potential and are just too afraid to actually give it a go. That's just a terrible, sad waste of people's potential. And, as I said at the beginning, if you feel inclined to try these things, to try and do something different with your life that isn't just the conventional stuff where you just lap up what authority tells you, lap up what the TV's telling you, and listen to sort of all the conventional wisdom all the time, then you need to get away from these people who are going to encourage you just to sort of do something really mundane with your life. I mean, imagine if Vincent van Gogh had been convinced to, stay in the priesthood, which he was supposed to go into, or, get a job as an office clerk in Amsterdam and not bother painting, That could have happened to him easily enough, but obviously he had enough courage and enough determination to pursue his art, even though actually in his own lifetime he was a terrible failure. He didn't make any money. I don't think he sold one single painting other than to his brother, who was involved in the art business. But, look at the legacy he's left behind, So you might not even see it in your own lifetime if you're prepared to have a go at something. And you might fail. You might be disastrous if you want to be like a great pianist. Maybe you're not that great. But look, if you're prepared to give it a try, well, why not? It's better to regret having done something and failed, I think, than to never actually try. And fear is the underlying problem with the NPC. They tend to cower in front of authority, and they're very easily put off from pursuing their own ideas. It's just sort of an attitude of fearfulness and timidity. which is, well, not something the world really needs right now. I think, I think, um, especially as we live in more oppressive times than we've seen for a long time, where freedom of speech is under threat, where sort of political fighting has reached such extremes that you're starting to see censorship and all kinds of problems over freedom of expression. Now is not the time to just become like this timid little mouse in the corner. People need to actually have some courage, not just in the social issues, but I mean just pursuing your own dreams, your own hopes for life. There's so much more that people can achieve, I think, if given the opportunity. So, I mean, if you feel like you have ambitions, you have desires, dreams that you could pursue, perhaps you should give it a chance. Perhaps you should not listen to the naysayers and the army of NPCs who are going to discourage you from doing anything other than the most mundane and trivial things with your life. Yeah, and give it a try. Why not? What have you got to lose? The worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't work out. And failure is not the worst thing in the world. It's not really something to be embarrassed about, because every human being fails. Every human being makes mistakes. And it's really only by trying things through trial and error and hard work that you actually get good at stuff and make a success of what you're doing in life. So anyway, that's all I have to say on the subject. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and feel free to share it with people, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel if you like what I have to say. Okay, that's it for now. Bye bye.